It is January the 4th, 2018, and Harry and Eric have come out to video the last facility to be documented in the history of the OC Park system, otherwise known as Smithcliffs Park. Silent era film stars once rode horseback in the moonlight along a secluded strip of a larger oceanfront property of which Smithcliffs was once a part. During the Roaring '20s, Florence Pancho Barnes, the legendary cigar-smoking aviatrix, lived here, eventually blowing her fortune hosting lavish parties for her famous Hollywood guests that included the likes of John Wayne, Ramon Navarro, Eric von Stroheim, Mary Pickford, and others. A portion of the site was later bought by Lon Smith and renamed Smithcliffs, a 10.4-acre property that remained a private, single-family residence estate until 1985. The 10.4-acre estate was ultimately subdivided into 26 custom residential lots, and it was covered with well over 100 major specimen trees. And since it was an unincorporated island, our offices required the developer to excavate and box all the trees and set them aside, go ahead and do the grading for the 26-foot lot subdivision, and then put the trees back into the property. And they consisted of Torrey pines and Canary Island pines and these magnificent Italian stone pines, which are now within this linear park that links Coast Highway to a little secret just beyond. Down at the end of the walkway that we've just traversed, we come to a little pocket park that is established here on the ocean front, looking down into Bootlegger's Cove. And one can imagine the Roaring '20s during Prohibition, when Pancho Barnes and her party guests would receive liquor. Actually, it's known that the liquor was dropped off here at Bootlegger's Cove to supply the whole city of Laguna Beach. The cove is only accessible at low tide on foot, but people can come in on paddle boards. Crescent Bay Point Park in North Laguna Beach, which was actually established in March of 1975. It was the first park acquisition that occurred after I joined Harbors, Beaches, and Parks, and it was at the behest of the leadership of former Supervisor Ronald Caspers, and then subsequently implemented under Supervisor Thomas Riley with the assistance of his dedicated staff assistant, Scott Ferguson, who later became a member of the staff of the Trust for Public Land. And this was an undeveloped promontory known as McKnight's Point, and I used to come here and hang out with my buddies when we were kids, and it was always under a family trust, but eventually in the early 70s they started selling off residential lots to be developed, and that mounted some pressure that we might lose this incredible scenic viewpoint that gives you a view of almost the entire South County coastline. And so with the assistance of the Trust for Public Land, they stepped in and purchased 2.3 acres of land consisting of 3 estate residential lots for approximately $1 million an acre, which was the most expensive per acre cost that the Harbors, Beaches, and Parks system had incurred up to that time. You can see in the distance Crescent Bay and the Twin Points estate owned by the Contino family, who have generously hosted many public benefit fundraisers. And in the distance, Laguna Bay and Aliso and Wood Canyons Wilderness Park and Laguna Coast Wilderness Park on the distant ridgelines. We have Harbors, Beaches, and Parks Commissioner James DeMarco from the 3rd District. Jim, how many years have you been on the commission?
Approximately 10 years. I was appointed in 1995 or 1996 by Supervisor Don Saltarelli.
And you've served under several supervisors, haven't you?
Yes. After Saltarelli, Supervisor Spitzer, and all subsequent supervisors.
Which is a testimony to your effectiveness as a commissioner, because rarely do harbor commissioners get reappointed by so many successive supervisors. Jim, what is a major milestone that's been accomplished at Harbors, Beaches, and Parks on your watch?
I think the most significant factor was a subject matter brought to us by what I would call activist citizens concerning the condition of the deeds as to some of the park parcels. In fact, those deeds did not have the language required or the language necessary to ensure that the parcels would remain parkland forever. And we were able to obtain the help of the Board of Supervisors and the county staff to change those deeds so that now that property will always remain parkland for future generations.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.